Hey guys, wanted to do a quick video. I was doing some research on the Kenneka Jenkins saga and came across a few things that I found interesting. This is from the Illinois Attorney General website. The address for that website is www.illinoisattorneygeneral.gov. If you live in Illinois and if you live in Chicago and you don't know who Lisa Madigan is, shame on you. She is your state attorney general. And this is from August of this year. And it says, Attorney General Madigan files lawsuit against City of Chicago to obtain consent decree for police reform. Madigan seeks court-enforceable consent decree overseen by federal judge to obtain lasting police reform in response to Justice Department's investigation into Chicago Police Department. And how she even came up, for me, anyway, in my research, is she actually came out in March of 2004 and publicly accused Donald Stevens of Rosemont of being connected to the mob. Like, she just came out and said it. Other people were hinting around and kind of jabbing around, and she just flat said it. And, anywho, she had kind of a personal vendetta against him in this casino because she knew that if that casino was built in Rosemont, then it was going to be disastrous because the mob would be there and it would be a big ordeal. And anywho, okay, the article says, Attorney General Lisa Madigan today joined Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel and Police Superintendent Atty Johnson to announce a lawsuit to seek an enforceable consent decree to implement the numerous reforms outlined by the U.S. Department of Justice in its investigation of the Chicago Police Department. In light of the new DOJ's administration preference not to seek a consent decree in Chicago, Madigan will seek reforms that provide the support police officers need to implement safe and constitutional policing practices and rebuild trust between community residents and police. And one of the big things in criminal justice is pushing community policing. They want to get the police officers out there in the streets to interact with the community and try to let the people see a face and become familiar with the police officer so that they can build this trust back up. The article goes on to say that she filed a lawsuit earlier today in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Illinois based on the findings of the Justice Department's investigation that revealed a pattern of civil rights violations caused by systematic deficiencies within CPD. The Department of Justice report cited a number of problems, including the unconstitutional use of deadly and excessive force by officers, inadequate training on appropriate tactics, lack of supervision, a failure to adequately investigate officer misconduct and discipline officers, and inadequate wellness and counseling programs to support officers. In its report, the Department of Justice recommended reforms needed to address these problems, specifically calling for a court-enforceable consent decree with an independent monitor to assess the progress of reform and the oversight of a federal judge. Well, the mayor backed her, and Atty Johnson backed her on this. And what she did was she it's in this article. Okay, it says Madigan's lawsuit is the first step to obtain a consent decree. Madigan will seek input from the community and police officers in negotiating the terms of the consent decree. Madigan's office will be assisted by lead expert Ron Davis and by Robbins Kaplan, a national law firm retained on a pro bono basis that has a long history of community work on behalf of a wide range of clients. Pro bono means they're going to work for free. It goes on to say Davis has a distinguished career in law enforcement. He most recently served as the director of the Department of Justice Office of Community-Oriented Policing Services, the COPS Office, from 2013 to 2017. The COPS Office is responsible for advancing community policing nationwide. And it says that In 2014, Davis was appointed to serve as the executive director of the President's Task Force on 21st Century Policing. President Obama charged him and the task force with developing recommendations to improve community trust in the police while enhancing public safety. The final report of the task force now serves as a foundational document in American policing. It says that Davis has served on 2 federal monitoring teams with oversight of police reform agreements or consent decrees between the DOJ and the Washington, D.C. and Detroit police departments, and as a policing expert on several DOJ pattern and practice investigations. He served over 8 years as chief of police of East Palo Alto, California, and 20 years with the Oakland, California Police Department. He was recognized for his innovative community policing efforts and for working collaboratively with the community to dramatically reduce crime and violence in a city once named as the murder capital of the United States. That's great. But Ron Davis was also known for something else, and I'm going to show you that. So, it said that Ron Davis was the police chief for East Palo Alto, California. So I went to check that out. Found this article. 4 African-American East Palo Alto cops allege racial discrimination. So I was like, what's going on with this? This is from 2014, which was the year before he was appointed by Obama to head this American policing thing. It says East Palo Alto cops allege discrimination from former African-American chief. Just days after the then police chief Ron Davis announced he was leaving to serve as director of the DOJ's Office of Community Policing, 4 East Palo Alto African-American police officers filed a racial discrimination complaint against him. The complaint alleged that Davis, who is also African-American, created a hostile work environment for black employees because of his bias against African-Americans in hiring, promotions, and assignments. Allegedly, African-American senior officers are routinely passed over for sergeant positions. There are no black detectives in the investigation division, and according to court documents, only 1 African-American police officer was hired during the time period of mid-2005 to mid-2013. That's 8 years. The complaint also states Davis sent his assigned African-American secretary to another city department shortly after he arrived in 2005. Both an African-American woman hired as a crime analyst in 2006, and another African-American woman hired as an administrative services manager in 2007, alleged that they were treated harshly. The analyst resigned in 2011, and the manager requested to be transferred to another department. So, since I tongue-tied that whole paragraph, basically to sum it up, it says that he sent his African-American secretary to another department within the city shortly after he arrived in 2005, and he hired a crime analyst in 2006, and a woman who was an administrative services manager in 2007, and they were both complaining that they were treated badly. And the analyst eventually resigned in 2011, and the other person wanted to be transferred to another department. So not only do you have, that's just a lot of people there. Discrimination complaint alleges use of the N-word on Facebook. The complaint also alleges that in 2011, an African-American sergeant told Davis a police department officer had posted the N-word on his Facebook page, but Davis failed to take action when that officer and his friends retaliated against the sergeant by harassing him. His temperament toward African-American employees is abrasive, belittling, and dismissive, states the complaint by Sergeant Roderick Norris and Ronaldo Rhodes and officers Paul Norris and Paul Hines. The 3-page complaint letter sent to Barbara Powell, the Assistant City Manager for Human Resources, and other City Council members cites several supportive examples of Davis's actions and behaviors. The examples that have been cited are a minute glimpse into the ongoing suffering endured by African American employees since Chief Davis took over the department. The complaint states, Powell said she can't talk about the complaint because it's a confidential personnel matter, but added that the city takes this very seriously and the city will be following up on it. Davis could not be reached for comment, and attempts to reach Hines and Paul Norris by phone and email were unsuccessful. According to a police department receptionist, Roderick Norris and Rhodes are currently on leave. So, let me sum it all up for you. Lisa Madigan, who has accused publicly Don Stevens, the former mayor of Rosemont, of having mob ties, has went on to say, yes, the Chicago Police Department needs work. We admit that. And to help get them the tools that they need to be able to serve the people the way they're supposed to, we're going to bring in Ron Davis and Robbins Kaplan pro bono. And we're going to fix all this. We're going to try to fix all this the best way we can. But my problem is with it now, she's got Ron Davis coming in, and Mr. Davis has already been alleged of discrimination against African Americans, and he's African American himself. So, I don't know if he's going to be the best person to head this team or not. And I don't know if it's really going to be fair considering he's the one that's heading the team. But I found that to be interesting. And I definitely wanted to bring that to the attention of everyone and just let them know what to expect when they are hearing reports from this committee that's going to be reporting to Lisa Madigan. So, and I'm sure she's aware of the allegations brought against him. But anywho, just wanted to bring that to you. And it's best, knowledge is power, and it's best to stay informed rather than uninformed. So you guys have a good night.